Hey ladies, welcome to episode 86 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. I am your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Be sure to click subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes. On today's episode, I'm interviewing Laura, who is the owner of Inspiring Essential Wellness. She is a stress management coach, and today we're going to dive into talking about stress, the downside to staying busy, how we best help our kids who are also stressed. And Laura is going to walk us through a breathing technique. It's called the Quick Coherence technique. I loved it. I also want to give credit to the ocean sound behind the technique, which is from zapsplat.com. Laura and I both love the beach, so I thought it would be appropriate to walk through this exercise using those ocean waves behind us. Another thing Laura and I have in common is we are both former educators. Yeah, I don't know if you know that about me. I taught 5th grade for 3 years before I had my first daughter. Well, Laura taught for 2 decades and then decided to pursue her passion for health and wellness. After realizing the vital role that emotions play in our overall well-being, she became inspired to help others achieve better mental and emotional health. So Laura is a certified HeartMath coach and trainer, and she specializes in helping families create a happy, healthy home. I love that her mission is to educate and empower others to live well. Both Laura and I know how important it is to put yourself first. It's that age-old cliche that we've said, you need to put your oxygen mask on before putting it on someone else. That principle is so true, especially when it comes to managing our stress and managing our own emotions. So Laura understands that when she's working with a family, it can't just be focusing on the kids because we have to ask, where are the kids picking up these behaviors, picking up these habits, picking up those lack of coping skills when it comes to stress, those out of control emotions? Very often, it's coming from us. I even share a personal story about my own struggle with emotions and stress. All right, this is a great interview. It's going to include a wonderful breathing exercise. I don't want you to miss a moment of it. So let's dive right into my interview with Laura, and let's all feel a little less stressed today. Hey, Laura, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast today. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. Could you just take a moment and just tell the ladies a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about today. So I started out as an elementary school teacher, like yourself, for almost 20 years. And towards the end of my career, I realized that it just wasn't serving me anymore. I really felt like there was more for me to do. And when I left New Jersey and moved to Texas, I decided that I wanted to pursue my other passion, which was health and wellness. And I had always been, a fitness freak, loved nutrition, was all about more of like the physical aspect of wellness. But when I moved to Texas, I really wanted to focus on emotional mental health because that was something I really always struggled with. And it's really ironic how my whole life I focused on the physical aspect of it and really ignored that emotional and mental piece, even though I desperately needed help in that area. So when I came to Texas, I just tried to find myself really, I just kind of went to different workshops and took trainings and just waited to see what God had in store for me. So I stumbled on HeartMath, which is a company. They've been around for about 25 years. And they're basically a stress and energy management company, to simplify it. Obviously, they're a lot more than that. And I became a coach and trainer through them. So now I help families in particular because I was an educator. I love the idea of working with parents and children. And I help them with stress and energy management and really help them to just find the calm in their family and create a happier, healthier home for everyone.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there's so many things we could dive into right here. I love it so much. And I think the work you're doing, first of all, is so timely. There's
Yeah.
a lot of stress, a lot of feelings and emotions and thoughts coming off of one heck of a year.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that there really was an increase in the need for stress management with families in particular over the last year?
It's funny because everyone asked me that, like, oh, your business must have been really booming last year. And in fact, it wasn't. And I think it's because people were just so stressed and overwhelmed that they really didn't know where to turn to. Like they were just lost, they were confused. Those were unprecedented times. And I mean, and still they still are, but people just really didn't know what to do, losing jobs. So I think there were a lot of other issues and they didn't have the thought to even seek help.
You're actually, Laura, bringing up, I think, a really good point to address right now is we often put it on the back burner. Like, I'll deal with that later. And you talked about that within the context of your own story. Like, I'll focus on all this other stuff, but I'm not necessarily even aware. And I do believe for this last year that what we've all walked through, this collective stress that we've all walked through, we're going to actually see the effects of that, the consequences, all of the residual wave that will keep coming for quite some time. You and I could talk a year from now and you're like, oh, I have so many people that I'm serving right now and helping because that's going to last. I've been talking to a lot of mental health workers and practitioners who keep saying, wait for it. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah. But let's go back there and just talk about how I don't know. And maybe you can address it. Is this human nature? Why do we not go to those places to deal with the emotional part, to address the thoughts? Why do we always go anywhere else but there first?
That is so true. And one, I just want to say that collectively, we all affect one another. So the residual effects of a world being stressed out and overwhelmed, I mean, I really think everyone's going to need help at some point because we are all affecting each other and we're giving off that stress and negative type of energy to one another. So collectively, we have to do something to help ourselves so that we can positively impact each other and the world.
Oh my gosh, Laura, that is so good. I know you have more, but I'm just going to pause and be like, you taking care of your mental health, your well-being, really does have a positive impact on the collective well-being, just like your stress has that same negative effect. Like, oh my God, like, I just think we need to highlight that. Like, when you take care of you, we think maybe like, oh, it helps my marriage or my relationships. It helps me be a better mom. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I love that you're addressing the collective, the larger in that too. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is just so good. It's so good to have that kind of perspective on your own mental health, your own stress level and mental well-being.
Yeah. And, we all want to change the world and make it a better place, but we rarely look at ourselves first. And I know that's been said by people before, but if we really just do some of that mental and emotional work on ourselves, we really can positively affect everyone around us. So think about if we all just worried about ourselves, worried about being less stressed, more peaceful, more loving, more compassionate, more caring. I mean, what an impact that would have on everyone else around us.
I totally agree. So, in the work that I do, we always address the thoughts and stress, and usually that's around food and body, it's very specific to that. But what my clients always find is when they address those places, it's not just benefiting them. It is literally starting to reach out like their coworkers. I mean, imagine how many people you interact with on a daily or weekly basis. And, whether it's still virtual or, in person, you see people. It could be as simple as the person across the street that sees your smile and notices like, okay, there's just still joy in the world, like something that impacts them. Like that is so crucial to, again, what you're saying, this collective healing and reducing stress for the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
And
my
then I think
gosh.
that a lot of us don't even realize that we're stressed. Like that's just become our baseline. So,
Oh, yes.
right?
Oh, go there. Go there. This is going to be so good. This is going to be so good.
So we're just on this hamster wheel of routines and we just think it's our norm that we're living this way. We're generally unhappy during the day, stressed, overwhelmed, frustrated. Like if you ask someone how their day went, a lot of times people just say, "Oh, it was okay," or "I was really stressed about this." Like they never find the good in the day. It's because they kind of just lump the day together as being negative or stressful or frustrating. But if you ask someone, "Are you stressed?" No, I'm good. I'm fine. And it's just because that's what is comfortable to them. And when things are comfortable, I'm sure you know with your clients, it's hard to break out of that habit. Like even if it's not a good habit, it's comfortable and it feels familiar. So I just want to stay in this because this is what I know. For me, the hardest part I think of my job is to get people to have some kind of emotional awareness and realize that they are stressed and they can live better. Like there's a possibility to have this beautiful, peaceful, amazing life that you deserve.
You just hit on something that I think my brain almost exploded. Like it was so good that it's almost in this lack of awareness, right? And again, this is where you and I, we have such similarities in how we approach our work and how we approach life and how we approach working with, clients and people, that when you become more aware, when you're so attuned with what's going on with your body, with your brain, with your thoughts, it's almost like you can't unsee it. You can't unrecognize that's not a normal amount of stress. I often work with, I work mostly with women, often with moms, and I ask them just to rank their stress, very simple scale, 0 to 10.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, it's maybe like a 4 or a 3, 5, somewhere in that range. And then
Yeah.
they tell me all the things. They say all the things that are going on. And
Mhm.
I hear it and go, honey, that's a 10.
Yeah.
That's an 8 or up. Like that's so much more stressful, because I think what you're hitting on that's so good is not maybe even having the ability to acknowledge how much stress you're carrying.
Yeah. And it's the society that we live in. It's like if you are not moving, stressed out, you're not being productive. If you're not constantly active, you are lazy and unproductive. And because of that, I feel like we always feel like we need to fill our time. We need to work more hours, involve our kids in more activities, and we never just take time to be silent. And oh gosh, like I was one of those people. I mean, when I was a teacher, I had a part-time job and like I had every second of my day planned and I would just wake up and repeat the same day over and over, never taking time to just relax and be silent. And now that I use meditation and heart math techniques, I see the value in just taking time to be still. Like I'm so much more productive, happier. I make better decisions. I mean, so many benefits, have better relationships just by taking some time to myself to be still.
Ooh, and I think about what, again, something I talk about, and I'm sure it must, fall into your work, is what are we passing down to our kids? What are we passing down to the next generation? And I think about what's been passed down to me, which is the hustle, which is work, 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 go, go, go. Yeah, you're supposed to get to the end of the day and feel spent. Those kind of things, whether completely consciously or subconsciously, are passed down. And here we are just continuing on the train of passing
Mhm.
that down to our own children. And then we wonder, maybe, why are my kids so stressed out? Why are they checking out? Why can I not seem to connect with them? It's because they're actually following what we've set as an example.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard and so often I hear people say like by the end of the day, I'm wiped, I'm exhausted. And that's because we don't have any resilience. We haven't taken any time to build that resilience. That's when you have no patience for your kids, when you get frustrated with your spouse really easily because you don't have any energy left. And it's not necessarily your fault. Like you said, it's just we've been conditioned to go, go, go. and not take time for self-care, right? Like self-care is selfish, and it's kind of a waste of time, people say, and it's not. It's by you taking care of yourself, you can better take care of the people around you. And I don't mean like getting massages and, pedicures. I mean, really taking time to work on your mental and emotional health.
Yeah. You mentioned just even stillness, the not doing, which I think can invoke fear and
Mhm.
concern, because if I'm not doing, I might have to address what I'm feeling
Oh,
or
yeah.
thinking. So,
Yeah.
do you see that there's sort of this avoidance behavior
Mhm.
happening, and we just stay busy to avoid those thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you bring up a good point. Um, a lot of times there's just things we don't want to address in our life. Like we know something's wrong, but it's easier just to ignore it than to address it. So by keeping busy, we can kind of keep those thoughts and feelings at bay and ignore them essentially.
Yeah. But Laura, here's the good news. So we're going to flip the tables here. You're
Mhm.
saying it doesn't have to be that way, that this doesn't have to be the norm for you, for your family, for what you pass on to future generations, that your grandkids, I always go there, your grandkids don't have to repeat this pattern, don't have to avoid what they're thinking and feeling, and don't have to live this super go, go, go stressed out life. That's where we can flip the tables. But how do we get there? Like, where do we even start, Laura?
I know it's so hard. I've been working on that. Initially when I set out, I wanted to really work with kids, and I have been working with them, but I recognize that I really have to get to the parents because they're the ones that are really controlling the dynamics in the household. So, and chances are they didn't learn any resilience building, self-regulation skills either. So
Oh, we were not taught that.
no, no. What is that? I mean, no, so I'm focusing on parents. And when people call me about their kids, through a caring conversation, I help them to realize that we really need to work on you first before you can work on your kids. Because if you are calmer and more resilient, they're going to just see by example. They're going to pick up on those things. So just as they were picking up on the stressful, overwhelming habits that you had, they can also pick up on these new, more productive habits. So I always want to work with the parents first. And then once they can get to a place where they're more self-regulated, where they're calmer, then we can work on helping the kids. But you have to help yourself first.
I live by that philosophy in my own practice as well. Is I actually have a group coaching right now. We're finishing up. It's called Mom First,
Mm,
so that mom is taken care of. She becomes the priority before she can help her kids with intuitive eating, that she can model those things. And it sounds like you take
yes.
that same philosophy, that you learn this, you uncover, you dive into the work, then you not only become a model and example, but then you can better even discern and see what's going on with your kids in these areas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because parents are so quick to sign up their kids for my classes. Oh yeah. My kid needs that
Fix
classes.
my
Yeah.
kid, please. Forget about me. Don't we do that though as parents? We're always like, anything for my kids, not realizing anything for your kids actually involves taking care of you. Like we don't entertain that until we see the benefits of doing it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah. I'm working with a client right now, and initially she came to me. She wanted help for her daughter. Her daughter was a little angry. Oh, it's so beautiful the progress she's made in just a few weeks of like realizing that, you know what? She's picking that up from me.
Mm.
I'm the one that has these issues. And it's funny because her family's noticing, they're noticing that she's calmer and that she doesn't react like she normally would have previously. It's just these little changes that are going to accumulate to big results in the end. I think we tend to forget those little wins that we have. Like we really need to celebrate those small moments because
Mhm.
they're going to compound and accumulate and have big results in the end.
Yeah. So, story time.
Sure.
I was a big yeller. I mean, talk about not controlling your emotions
Mhm.
and living under stress 24/7. If you're familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a type 3 and I am constantly wanting to achieve and do, and I will do just about anything. And I say would. I have really done the work. What woke me up was when my kids started yelling. When my kids started losing their crap, as I would say, I'm like, wonder where they got that from. Oh, that's right. It's me completely.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized was if I can model yelling, losing my crap, not having any control of myself, I bet I could model something else. But I had to do the work. And I'm so grateful that I did. It really actually opened up so many other doors and led me to where, I mean, I would say I am now. And there's no yelling. Like, it's crazy how that shift for me shifted the dynamic of our home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's because we let the external world, whatever that might be, work, friends, family, we let that dictate how we're feeling.
Mm.
And we really do have the power to control our emotions, but you have to learn self-regulation. You have to learn those tools to help you get there. And it's really empowering. Like once you can, that you don't have to let the chaos of the world control how you're feeling. It's super empowering. Like I have control over myself. We have control of ourselves more than we realize.
Oh, that is so true. That is really true. So if I'm feeling though right now, I'm listening to this right here and I'm wondering like, I don't really feel like I have a whole lot of control of my emotions. I really don't feel like I have a whole lot of resilience. And especially maybe even coming off this last year or just in a general sense, like maybe they relate with my story of all the yelling.
Mhm.
Laura, what's something they could start with or somewhere they could, invite something in, a technique or a tip or a tool that you have for the women listening?
Breathing.
Oh, girl, let's go. Let's
Just
do it. I'm
breathe.
ready.
I'll teach a technique, but worst case, breathe.
Mm,
Like the power of your breath, I mean, can really change situations around. Just taking that pause instead of reacting, taking a few deep breaths and then reacting will change the whole trajectory of the conversation, the event. It makes it so much smoother. It just makes life flow with so much more ease. So I would love to share. I mean, if you want to at this point, we can do it.
yeah, I would love to invite that into this space right now. I'm feeling it. Let's learn what you have for us and let's breathe.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to teach you the quick coherence technique. So it's meant to be used on the go anytime you need it, but there's definitely some things you need to establish first. So one is part of it is to activate a renewing feeling. And that doesn't mean just thinking about it. It means really re-experiencing it in your heart, which is kind of challenging for people. I bet if I said like, feel stressed, overwhelmed, or have some anxiety, we can do that with like a snap of the finger, right? No problem. But when we ask people to feel those renewing emotions like care, compassion, peace, appreciation, it's harder again because they're just so accustomed to living in those depleting emotions. So at first it might be a little bit of a struggle because it's really just changing your mindset and allowing yourself to feel differently. So it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first. I just want to let people know that anytime you practice a technique that is going to better you, you're setting an intention to move forward. And even if you don't think you're doing it perfectly, just keep going because those little steps will add up over time. And something is always better than nothing. I invite you to think of a memory, a person, a pet, anything that can activate that renewing feeling. So, like for me, when my husband comes home every day, we give each other this big hug that lasts for like a good 20 seconds. And I can really re experience how I feel when I hug him. We have such a good friendship and relationship. So like when I hug him, it just makes me so happy, especially since I haven't seen him since, early in the morning. So that's one of the little tools in my box. Another one would be the beach. I love the sound of the ocean, my toes in the sand, hearing the
Mhm.
waves crash on the shore. The sun on my face really just makes me feel really good and happy. So those are two of my moments that I have in my pocket always, and I know I can reach for it at any time. I suggest people start with, just two, and it's okay if it starts out as a thought, but the key is to move it to your heart so that you can really feel those emotions. So I don't know if you have one that you
I
would like to
do.
share.
Yeah,
Okay,
I do
awesome.
have one. And actually, it's so interesting what you shared that I connect actually with both of those really well. But what I thought about was my oldest. She gives me a hug every morning. And
Aw.
the way she leans in, because she has to bend down because I'm shorter.
Oh.
Like there's something about a heart to heart connection there, and
Mhm.
just that she came from my womb. Like it invokes so much feeling for me that I think that's the one I want to hold on to right now. Like I can feel it, like I can feel it in my
Yeah, I
body
see you
right now.
smiling. Your face just lit up. So
Mhm.
that's definitely a good one for you. Okay, awesome. I'm going to walk through the steps first, just explain them a little bit, and then we'll
That'd be
go through it
great.
again. You focus your attention in the area of your heart, and that does two things. It helps to stop the thinking, and then it helps to put your focus someplace else that's more productive. Oh my gosh, our heart is so powerful for so many reasons. It sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So like it's really kind of running the show. We always just think the brain is, but the heart's running the show. So it's getting out of your mind, stopping your thoughts and putting your focus someplace else. And then the second step is to breathe slower and deeper than normal. And if you ever done any type of breathing, you know that every time you breathe in that way, you're letting your body know that you're safe, right? That
Mhm.
you're in this safe space. Because if you were in danger, your heart would be racing, you would be breathing really heavy. So it's just kind of letting the body know it's okay to relax right now. We're safe and we can take some time for ourselves. And then the next step is to activate this renewing feeling that we were talking about. And it's the key is to really re-experience it. And then you just sit with those feelings for just a minute or two. It doesn't even have to be long. The key is just to get yourself into a more balanced, coherent place. Even if it's
Mm.
just for a little bit, getting to that place throughout the day will help to build your resilience. It will help you to be able to self regulate better.
This is so good. I mean, I teach a breathing technique. I think the breath is so powerful. And I actually love you gave me this visualization of, I think we do always think brain to heart, brain. I picture that flow down. But what you just gave me was this new vision of flow from the heart to my brain. Like I
Mhm.
can see that, like I forget about that flow. And I always work from the heart, but I don't see that connection. And that was like, oh, that's so good. And again, just reiterating how important the breath is in calming your central nervous system.
Yes.
I don't think people are aware of what's really going on with fight or flight or freeze,
Mhm.
or when we're in that rest state and how it benefits our entire body, like down to the cellular level. It
Yes. Yes.
benefits our body. So, what I think would be great is would you just kind of, I mean, I say quickly for the sake of time, knowing, that listeners can pause and press into this. That's a great thing about having this recording. They can keep coming back to it, they can pause
Mhm.
to sit with that. So, would you just walk us through that exercise, kind of just right through from beginning to end? So, we
Okay,
have
sure.
that here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll pause a little bit in between the steps just to allow the listeners to kind of get familiar and comfortable with the step before moving on to the next one.
Great.
Okay, awesome. And I like to close my eyes. It helps just block out all that other stuff right around me. And then I also recommend that people place one hand or both hands on their heart. Just it gives them a reference point, so you can kind of, if you put a little pressure there, it reminds you to put your attention there.
All
So
right, everybody. I have my feet flat on the floor. I'm going to put my hands on my heart and I am going to close my eyes for this. And Laura,
okay.
walk us through.
Focus your attention in the area of your heart and imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. And if your mind starts to wander, simply refocus your attention back to the area of your heart. And feel how your chest rises and falls with each breath. And now make a sincere attempt to feel a regenerative feeling, such as care, compassion, or appreciation for someone or something in your life. And really try to re-experience that memory. And let's sit here for a few more seconds. And let's take one more deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we can finish recording because I'm going to go lay down. I feel so calm right now. And you know what I noticed is how I naturally started to smile as you
Yes.
walked me through that. Like I could feel it. And then all of a sudden I was so aware of how different I felt. I mean, I came into this in a good space. I mean, being honest,
Yeah.
but even coming from a good place of how, oh my gosh, I feel like, hey, like we're back on that beach. I feel, and this again, I do believe in the breath. I do believe in this connection, mind, body, spirit. And that this is like barely a taste of the work that you do. And I already feel amazing. And I hope that the listeners participated or go back,
Yeah.
rewind, hit that 30-second boop, 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 and head back and go through that exercise again. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. When I'm in that state, I don't want to come out of it because it's so peaceful and happy that I'm like, oh, just a few more minutes. Like I know I have to go about my day, but I just want to sit in this space for a little bit longer because it's just so renewing and it feels incredible.
Yes, that is definitely how I feel right now.
Yeah.
I feel incredible. I know this is going to be on repeat for me because I am always on the go. I do have some techniques for managing stress, but I feel like I invite more stress in sometimes in the nature of, owning your own business, mom of four, doing all the things, podcaster, everything that I need to incorporate more of this. If I'm inviting more things, if I'm doing more things, I need more of this. And this is such a simple yet very profound technique. And again, like I said, just barely scratching the surface of the
Yeah.
depth of the work that you do.
Yeah, it really is. And it's meant to be on the go, like, with your eyes open in the moment. I love, I don't do this all the time, but I really try to make an effort to practice that after or before each task. So every time I switch gears, so like right before you got on the podcast, you might do the technique. And then right before you talk to a client, you practice. So you're always just making a conscious effort throughout the day to like implement this technique wherever you can. So it's best to like attach it to a habit you already have.
Mm.
If you're always drinking water, every time you take a sip of water, practice it for just 30 seconds. I mean, every little bit counts.
Before you get on that Zoom meeting, ladies, before you walk down that hallway to your boss's office, before you go have that hard conversation with your kids and you're going to pass by this one door, this is such a great and easily implementable. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to use it today. Implementable technique. And I love that you could be driving in the car. Maybe your highest stress point is that drive home in traffic and you don't have to close your eyes. You can show up for this. Heck, you can have the podcast playing on the way home and go right to this technique part so that you can use this again and again. But I really believe what this does, Laura, is open up the door for wanting more. For if this makes me feel this way in the moment, how could I feel all the time? How could I feel if I have all the techniques, do all of this. I love that it's called HeartMath. The teacher in me loves that. But if I want to connect with you and go deeper, if I want to do the real work that benefits me, maybe my job, my home, my family, my surroundings, my community, all the things, how can I best connect with you?
I would say via email is probably the best way. And, I always like to have a discovery call to really see first if, we're a good match and see how I can really help you better. Because I mean, just like you being a coach, right? You get so excited. Like I get such a high off of helping people. So, I want to make sure that we're the right fit and that I can help out. So my email is laura@inspiringessentialwellness.com. And that's probably the best way to reach me. I'm really responsive.
I love that, like direct connect with you. And for all of you listening, I'm going to include that email along with all of the other ways to connect with Laura in the full show notes. You're going to want to, even if you go on social media, start following her. She always has something to get you thinking, something you can put into practice, something you can just dive deeper in your own thoughts. And she's such a wealth of information. And honestly, just talking to her makes you feel calmer. She has that presence about her that you're like, yes, just tell me more things and I feel better. Yes, I love that. Laura, thanks so much for coming on here and sharing this amazing technique with us right here on the podcast.
My pleasure. I really hope it helps.
All right, Lori, I can't let you go though, because I have one question for you
Oh,
before we're
okay.
done. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Give it to me.
Every single guest can't get off the podcast without answering this question. If you had one superpower, what would it be and why?
Well, I guess doing what I do, I would have to say the ability to, I don't want to say control other people's emotions, but just help them to feel better, to give them the awareness that they can feel better. That would be my superpower.
I love that. And I really believe, Laura, you are on your way to making that superpower a reality. And I know for anyone listening here, they're probably experiencing that same feeling like, yes, you have that superpower already. And I am here to fully support it. Again, thanks for coming on. Ladies, be sure to head into the show notes, connect with Laura on social media, send her an email,
Yeah.
ask the hard questions. She has the ability to really discern what might be best for you, for your family, and again, for you taking care of your family. Thanks again, Laura.
Thank you.